Yeah, completely off.
This is not recorded.
How was this whole tour? Is this like your first tour back since the pandemic and everything?
I would say that it was our best tour yet.
Yeah.
The shows were consistently really good. I thought the crowds coming out were really great, really passionate, and lively. It was a lot of young people, which I thought was cool because I think it was a lot of kids that maybe have never even been to a show, partially because of the pandemic, you know? And so it was cool to have the opportunity to kind of, break them into this world of live music, specifically for, kind of being a little bit of like the gateway drug into maybe like extreme music or like just intense, kind of punk shows and introducing them to the openers and to the local support. And I think for a lot of kids it was very eye-opening. So yeah.
I wanted to talk about a few things there, but I'll start with the opener tonight. You had Eviction, who is like a genuine noise act, like a proper noise act, and before that it was Woody, who was the local opener for you here tonight. How do you find balancing those acts between the straight harsh noise that like Eviction is bringing and the more dance and electronic trick stuff and your more hardcore sound? Like, what is that like balancing that set list? Do you put any thought into that, or what's that?
Well, because Machine Girl, especially in the performance as you saw it, like incorporates all these different styles and almost like genres, and there's moments that are kind of noise, there's moments that are very just like straight up dance music, that I liked, kind of like having an opener that was like Eviction, that was purely the noise aspect, partially just because like I also want the sort of like shock value, shock to the system, performance. I wanted to expose kids to something like that, and I knew we've known Victoria for a long time, and I knew Victoria would balance giving kids a very real, visceral performance. It's very physical, but also like not on some Gigi Allen shit where like I know that she's not really trying to hurt people, and I think that I feel that especially for like a really young crowd that has lived online for the last 2 years, to be like confronted with this performance that is so in your face and like seemingly dangerous, that kind of excited me, and then like having someone like Woody is like almost on the other end of the spectrum, and with this tour, keeping like a local opener for every show was something I wanted to do, just to try to like also kind of maybe give a platform to local acts that we know and like in cities, and hopefully get a younger audience to now, like hopefully kids will now go check out more of Woody's shows, and then from there, go to whatever else they see at those shows. And to kind of just pollinate, across the country, like putting seeds in all these different cities. So yeah, it was definitely intentional, having different genres like mashing up against each other.
Sure. I got one more question about the live act anyway, is you have like recently, since you've become a two-piece act, focused more on the hardcore spectrum of your sound. I think you've narrowed down on that, especially in the live setting. And the last time that I saw you perform was ahead of the Code Orange Return of the King show here in Pittsburgh. And that was a show that was stacked with these larger metal and hardcore acts. And you are still performing just as a two-piece. And I wanted to ask about the energy sort of you bring to that show just as a two-piece, or if you ever feel like intimidated by these larger acts that are more stereotypically of the genre or whatever, and how you go about approaching that.
Yeah, I definitely feel a little bit of like there's an intimidation, but also like a motivation to like feel that we have to compensate for that. And so that's, you know, why I try to make the live performance something that I feel is even like more like, at least in what I'm trying to do and the way I'm trying to perform is just as, if not more extreme than those bands, you know, like jumping around on stage, like, you know, attacking kids in the crowd and climbing on shit and like, I don't know, like just trying to like show that just because we have like computers and stuff that we doesn't mean we can't have like a live, like very real performance that's not just karaoke, you know, because I think a lot of people see just the computer, the drums, and me, and that's their first thought is like, oh, this is just some like rap karaoke shit, you know. And for a lot of like hardcore metal kids, I think they just immediately are like, I don't fuck with this. So I try to like meet them in a area where maybe they would understand it, you know.
So you worked on the A2B2 lineup recently, right? So what was that experience like, and what was it like working on a lineup like that with Andy Moore and Cara Cara Bonito? Like that was a very stacked and disparate bill. What was that sort of like?
What's up? Is this your bag?
Yeah.
Well, to answer your question, actually, I don't know. It wasn't like really that crazy or anything. Like, we were just asked to do it, and we did it, and it wasn't even like that crazy. Like, I already knew Andy I met Andy a couple months before that, and we had like already been talking online for a while, and I actually didn't really like meet anyone there. It was actually just kind of like this weird. If anything, the most notable thing about that experience was just that, like, it was the first time I had been around so many people at once, like, since the pandemic. Like, there was, like, 3,000 people there or something. And then it was definitely, like, a super spreader event, so. Like Omicron. It was definitely, like, Omicron was there, but it was, like, before people like knew what it was and shit, you know.
Just when you were first breaking out with your sound, like around 2014 and then a little bit earlier, there wasn't really the blueprint that I think there is these days with what it's like to make this kind of music. So it was like sort of paving your own way around then.
You know, it's funny because it's like, I think that first of all, like, I maybe was the first one to just kind of successfully combine all these different elements together, like the anime, like you know, vaporwavy visuals and aesthetic with like the jungle rave shit and stuff, and do it in a way that felt kind of like this DIY lo-fi bedroom producer sort of like aesthetic or whatever. But, you know, I mean, to me, Wolf Girl was just, I was trying to make my own version of two other records that predated that, which were Where Were You in 92 by Zombie and 1 Foot in the Rave by Shitmat. And those are both records that I still think hold up as some of the best, like front to back, like just kind of straight out like rave bang, like modern, like jungle hardcore rave banger albums. And it felt like for a few years like Wolf Girl came out, and it was kind of like I noticed it mostly that I was like popular among like some internet kids and stuff, and it wasn't until like 2017 2018 that I started seeing stuff that was like very blatantly inspired by it. And it was like only a couple years later and from then to now that I see everywhere, it has become this weird like second it's like its own offshoot of like jungle and rave. It's like, again, it's like bedroom rave. It's like all these young kids just like in their rooms sampling anime and shit, and like, you know, I hear all the I mean, and it's not to say that, you know, there aren't people making amazing shit and like taking it in leveling it up and stuff, because there are, you know, and I think it's fucking sick. But I see, and I think it's sick, all the things from Wolf Girl coming up and these other albums, you know, and yeah.
Absolutely.
Your question.
No, totally. That was excellent. We just got one more thing. I'm sorry to keep you for this late. I wanted to ask you about your relationship with Pittsburgh specifically. Yeah, we're not even from. We're down the way a little bit as a college radio station. We're not from Pittsburgh. This is a personal, because I feel like you've identified as a Pittsburgh band, or at least when I first got into you, I knew you as a band that was around this area, you know, local to the scene. And you've since moved, to my understanding, and I just wanted to know what the
scoop?
the inside scoop, anything you're willing to offer as far as that goes.
Yeah, we were based in Pittsburgh shortly for like 3 years, one of which was in COVID. Yeah, we were New York. I mean, we came up in New York. We're ultimately, to me, a New York band, and we had a hiatus, like a stint here in Pittsburgh. We both were. I lost my job in New York, and we were both sick of struggling to make rent and trying to focus on the band. So we were like, fuck it, let's move somewhere that's way cheaper and try to like focus full time. So we did. And yeah, we were here for like 2 years. A lot of good came from it. We also learned that we're, you know, not really meant to be here. And so we moved back. But Pittsburgh will always have a special place in my heart. It's the only place outside of New York that I've ever lived. And there's a lot of beautiful people here, and I think now that, you know, we are feels like coming out of COVID and like shows are happening and stuff. Hopefully there's not another like, you know, fucking spike or whatever, variant that fucks everything up. But I think I'm excited to see what develops here with like the younger scene, you know. I think a lot of exciting things are ahead for the Pittsburgh music and art and DIY scene.
Last thing, this is a fan question. Quick, are you a drainer? That was the fan question that we have.
No.